So, if you think about the Labster simulations as what you would have done in class, you don't go back to the classroom or the lab to redo the experiments to get ready for your finals. But all the stuff that you need is present within the PowerPoints, within your assignments that you've already done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, the concept test is not honor lock or anything. It's open book, open notes. It doesn't seem to help, but I've been doing this concept test for years. I changed the questions up, but still, it's there. Everything that you need is there. You already have it, access to it. Okay, ready to get started for today? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we are going to go over today's module, and then we'll talk about how we're going to be doing this poster. So remember, again, the concept test is due next Saturday, I believe, by midnight. It's 2 hours. It gives you 2 hours time limits. The time starts once you enter, and it doesn't stop. So you can't go in and out of it. And to restart it, it won't. It will go through. Once you start, it's going to keep going through. Having said that, if your internet drops and you have to log back in, it will log you back in and let you go from where you were. Okay, so this week we are going to be making our poster, and that is the poster that you're going to be submitting in a video form, right, as a presentation with the two of you presenting it together. And then also you will be submitting the PDF of the poster itself for me to grade. The poster is going to be submitted in two different places. One is for you guys to look at it, look at each other's posters, look at the presentations, and ask questions and do discussions, which is part of your graded, part of your grade. And then the second one is going to be the poster presentation that I'm looking at separately to grade as the poster itself and your presentation itself. So if you look under this poster draft, there's a PowerPoint that kind of goes through the basics of scientific poster presentations and what should be the main components of it, and what are they used for, and all that good stuff. To go over that, it is just kind of basic outlines of those. The important parts of those are also present in the instructions that I will go over in a minute. Then you see there is an assignment called poster draft that's due by this Sunday if you want to do it. It is not a graded assignment. It's not so if you don't turn one in, you don't lose any points. If you do turn one in, I may give you up to 10 bonus points on your poster presentation grade. Now, these drafts are really helpful if you want some feedback from me before you make your final presentation. So, by all means, feel free to send them in. I will look at them within 24 hours. I will get back to you with all my comments. You can make your changes if you want, and then make the presentation for them. And then you have your actual presentation link, which is where I'm going to go to now. So the instructions are given to you in a Word document, and I'm going to be going over them now. So typically when we do these poster sessions, we obviously do them in a face-to-face setting. We do them as a big poster session in our classroom. We invite the whole biology department and anyone else people want to invite. Sometimes, I've had students from the chemistry department that will invite their chemistry professors as well, or their friends from that department too. And we have food and we have fun and whatnot. But obviously, this one is Zoom. and not even Zoom this time. Last semester, we did a Zoom session, a Zoom poster session, virtual poster session. And while it worked okay, some students had connectivity issues. And also, it was like literally 4 hours of presentation. So it was really long for some of the students. And a lot of people had issues with going on and off the internet, and having trouble with presentation because of that. So this time I've changed it so that you guys will be still preparing the poster the same way we always do, but you will be doing a presentation through, you can make a Zoom call between you and your partner where one of you shares the poster and then you present it, but record that whole, recording and then post the recording of the Zoom session. You can make a Canvas Studio video and post that. You can make any, phone video if you guys are in close proximity, but keeping social distancing, and post that. You can do whatever you want. For that, just make sure that you are posting a presentation of your poster within the discussion board. Um, so the poster is going to be a 24 by 36-inch poster in final dimension. It is going to be a PowerPoint slide at the end of the day that is going to be with these dimensions. You can use it in landscape or portrait form. That's up to you. Whatever way your information shows better, you can choose that. The few guidelines that we have for you is that all text in there should be the size that will be visible. If it was posted on the wall and we were about 5 feet away, we should still be able to read it. And that comes to about 20-point font as the lowest font size that you can go. Preferably, you're doing a lot larger than that in most of the sections. So 20 points or above is your requirement for font size. Um, then you want to make sure that your poster is not super wordy. You want to take advantage of schematics and pictures and data and images that you can use to communicate your main points, your key conclusions. And then you use the words very judiciously, very concisely to provide the extra information you need in order for us to understand them. Um, the poster should have a very clear storyline so we can follow it without you being there. And obviously you will, when you present it, you should be able to just kind of go in a very smooth flow to describe the poster, not have to jump around between too many sections. The required sections of your poster: the first thing you need is obviously your background information or your introduction. In this particular section, you want to add basic information about the supplement that you chose and the condition or the disease that you chose. For each one of those sections, you can have 3 to 5 bullet points. And I highly encourage you to add schematics about maybe the condition or the natural product, or picture of the natural product along with the supplement, along with its chemical structures for the active compounds. But use these images to enhance your introduction and make it less wordy. So you don't have to write all that information down. A lot of it can be shown in images. Then I know we didn't do any experiments, wet experiments as such, but we did still have a strategy. And so what you will have instead of the typical method section is a research strategy section. And in that strategy section, you will start off by stating your main question that you were trying to answer through your research. So I'm showing you an example of a schematic, a flow chart that you can make. Obviously, you can make any different way that you want. It doesn't have to look like this. It could be something like this, or it could be bullet points. It could be images in a different way. You can be more creative about it. I've had students do really creative stuff in the past, but what it should include is your question and your different ways that you try to answer. And so here is an example because we did mostly clinical studies, right? Or not clinical studies, but literature research. So in my question, I say, does GABA rejuvenate old liver cells? And then I am doing a literature search about clinical studies that may show GABA as an agent to help promote liver regeneration. I'm looking at basic science research studies that look at cell culture model or animal model or some kind of chemical structures and active compounds and NMR study type things to look at how it may be affecting um, the liver cells. And then I am looking at its mechanism of action by looking at molecular data, exactly what pathways and what proteins and genes it's affecting. And that is done through looking at molecular techniques that we've talked about, kind of like, activity assays and Western blot analyses, ELISAs, DNA gels, all those things that we've talked about. Or we could do in silico analysis like we did with pathway analysis using the reactor. So you would draw something similar like this, or you would write a kind of a summary of your research strategy, so it's clear to us as a reader or a viewer what it is that you did to answer your question. Everyone good about the research strategy section? Yes, no, maybe?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
By the way, should I enlarge it? I just realized that maybe
That would
it's,
help.
huh? Yes,
That would
no,
help.
maybe?
Yeah, that would help.
Okay, that's better. Did that show better on your end?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, perfect. Okay, then we're going to get into the main kind of, meat of your poster session, which is the figures that will give your results. You are allowed to have 3 total data figures, at least 2 of which are going to be multi-panel. Now, by multi-panel, what I mean is that it is going to contain multiple types of data to make a related common point. So you may have images from a paper that you found that were interesting and were clearly showing cell viability, for example, in panel A. You may have a graph that you found in a clinical study about the efficacy of your supplement in panel B, and that shows that change in survival in patients. And then in panel C, you may be looking at another paper's data, a molecular data showing that cells were dying through apoptosis, maybe. And those 3 panels combined all show that your supplement induced apoptosis and reduced the viability of these cells, the disease cells. So you'll have 3, in that case, you have 3 different panels showing 3 different types of results, all giving the same points, and that would be what would constitute a multi-panel figure. And I'll show you some examples of those in a minute as well. You want to kind of think through your research and come up with conclusions that you want to show in your final poster. And for each one of those conclusions, you're going to take the related data and combine it into a figure form. So you want to have at least 2 of these kind of figures. And then your third figure is going to be pathway schematic. And it could be the schematic by itself, the one that you just drew last week. Or it could be that along with related data that you found about that, those proteins and nodes and the pathways from the published literature. So you could combine them or you could keep it by itself. That's up to you. Um, and then in your conclusion section, you should have no more than 3 final take-home points from your research regarding your question. And then obviously you'll have a list of references. It doesn't have to be just those 5 that you originally started with. Many of you looked up additional references and added more research. You'll have all of those in there. It's not an annotated bibliography. It's just a list of all used or researched sources in alphabetical order. You're going to show them with the first author name only, followed by et al., write the title of the paper, and then the DOI. And this is the only section where your text size can be smaller than 20 font. So you can go to 12 or 14, that's fine, especially if you have a lot of references, because you don't want to take like the whole last column with references. Okay? Okay. So now let's think about how we are going to plan out the poster.
I'm sorry, I have a question real quick.
Yes.
If we decided to use the PNG from Reactome or whatever, what would that be considered as? Like from how everything connects.
The
I don't know if
PNG.
any.
Oh, the image.
Yeah.
That's gonna be, that can be part of your the pathway analysis figure. So what you are gonna do is make that your panel A, and then your panel B will be your own schematic that you drew.
Okay. Yep. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So that will be one of your figures, or part of a figure. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is plan out your posters, right? Your actual poster. So this is a little bit of a creative assignment, as well as obviously organization of different types of data and doing your critical thinking. Um, I highly suggest that you take a piece of paper, or on the computer while on a Zoom call with your partner, and kind of lay out your poster, kind of like we do for a magazine front, or for a newspaper layout. So just kind of think about, what is it that you want to show in that poster. Sometimes it helps to first make an outline of it on the side, and have, okay, this is my introduction. These are the 3 points I want to mention in the introduction. This is my strategy. Then in my results, I'm going to have this figure. These are the panels that I'm going to include in there. So kind of work through that, so you know what size the images are going to be and what they will look like. And it's better, lets you visualize the poster better. And then we will be making, I will be showing you how you can make a kind of a rough layout of your poster today in the Zoom session as well. But the first step is always to draw it out on a piece of paper, just an 8 by 11 paper, so you can kind of visualize it and say, okay, this is where my title is going to go. This is where my intro is going to be. These are where my results are going to be. Just a simple layout. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to open an empty PowerPoint, and you will have just 3 or 4 slides in there. You may have to end up opening 2 different PowerPoints if some of your images are going to be landscape versus portrait form. But basically, you're opening just a normal PowerPoint, and you are going to start developing your figures. So for this, you're going to be then going back to your research articles and taking the associated panels with each one of your conclusions into their respective slides, and putting them together the way you would want to show them in your final paper. And again, I'll show you a little bit of this in a second. Once you've gotten your figures ready to go, you will then prepare the text that is going to be associated with each of your figures. You can write it as a Word document, or you can keep it as notes inside this individual slides, right underneath the slides. Um, and so then you are ready to actually populate your final layout that you're preparing for your poster. When you're making that, the first thing you want to do is add a title to your poster. Make sure that in your title, you have clearly marked independent variable, dependent variable, and the main conclusion that you want me to take from your poster. So it's basically, your title is summarizing your final conclusion of the project. Then you will go ahead and put in your introduction and the associated images to your research strategy. For the research strategy as well, it is really helpful to make it as a slide separate from the poster itself, same way as you've been making your figures, and then populate it into your poster itself. And then you'll have your individual figures. Obviously, the conclusion section is going to contain just 2 or 3 bullet points that will be your main salient findings. And then you're going to have your all your references. Make sure that if you use any abbreviation, you spell them out somewhere so it is clearly marked what they mean and I'm not confused or a reader is not confused by what it is. At the end, you want to make sure that you double check everything. Uh, Make sure that there are no spelling mistakes, that all the font sizes are correct, that everything is according to the rubric or according to these instructions before you submit it or before you finalize it. Now, normally we obviously print the posters. This time that's not applicable for you. What you will be doing is taking that PowerPoint of your poster and you will be saving it as a PDF so it can no longer be changed. And that PDF is what you're going to be submitting into the assignment tab. Now, if you look in here, you will see that I have uploaded a few videos that you can also look at how to use PowerPoint to make these posters. This very first one is great for showing how to prepare like a layout, right? This exactly talks about the same thing that I'm talking about. That take a little page and then draw out your general layout and decide where you're going to have what section and in what way, what is important to show. And then these show different ways that you can set that up in PowerPoint. Again, you can have them like this one is showing where there are two different panels in a poster that is in portrait form. Many times people make landscape form posters, kind of like a trifold, which is what I will show you in a minute. And there are other ways that you can do it too. You can have 4 columns, you can have just a single large space that you're using in any which way. Um, but the idea remains the same, that it should have a clear flow and we should be able to follow it from one place to the other. Your narrated final video should not be more than 5 minutes long. Typically, these videos are about three and a half minutes long, but it should never be more than 5 minutes long. Usually, less than 3 minutes, you miss something important. More than 5 minutes, you're probably talking about a section too much. So be aware of that. The media files are going to be submitted both in this assignment as well as in the discussion board. So the discussion board itself has the due date for July 27th. That is for your comments, not for the video. The video should be submitted by the 22nd, just like the poster is going to be submitted by the 22nd. You will then have a week to look over all the videos and write your comments and questions in there and have the students respond to them. Every student must comment and ask questions for at least 2 presentations within that poster session. So I should, and that's what I'm going to be grading you on. So the 20 points that are for the graded discussion are for your questions and your comments that you will be doing to other posters, not yours. The way you answer questions that are posted to your poster will be graded as part of your poster grade, the final poster grade that you are going to get on your poster, um, which is obviously the overall grade for your poster. Questions about that before we go into the poster itself? Yes, no, maybe?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Okay, sounds good. So there was something that came into my mind. Yes, next week we will be meeting as a Zoom session, but our Zoom session is essentially going to be that each group will open up their poster and we will ask any questions we want to ask of you. You're not going to be presenting your poster. You're just going to be essentially opening it up. And then the idea is that you would have people would have already seen your poster presentation on the discussion board. So they are coming in to ask questions. Okay. Okay, so, oh, there's a chat question somewhere. Okay, so let's make a poster and show you how it is supposed to be done. So what you, like I said, that what you would want to do is open up a few blank presentations. Um, and then I'm going to open a second one up. And in this one, I will go to design. And I'm going to go to slide size, custom slide. And I'm going to say I want this in portrait form, whatever. Okay. That does not seem like the right size. Let's make sure that it's 8 by 11, custom slide size. I want to show just a 8 by 11 paper. There we go. That looks better. And then this one, again, you want to do the same thing, that it is just a normal slide. So you can go to slide size, custom, and paper, and this one's going to be landscape. Okay. Now, based on what you've decided for your actual poster, now I'm opening a third PowerPoint, by the way. You can have it in landscape form, or you can have it in, portrait form. I'm going to show you the landscape version because I'm going to show you how to do a typical trifold poster setup. So you're going to go to design, go to slide, custom slide size. And this one, I want to remain in landscape. I want to do a custom size. And the size that I'm going to be doing is 36 width and 24 height, 24 by 36. And I will say okay. And now I have a super large slide. That is the size that I want for the final poster. You can make it into 48 by 60, like any size you want. The banners that are 100 and some inches. And so I know it doesn't look like it's that big because it's the same computer screen. And you can easily see though that it is big because when I write, you can tell that those are really tiny words, right? Tiny letters, even though they are size 18. And I would really have to be like much higher for it to show. Okay, so far so good. We don't need this yet, so we're gonna bring it down. We're gonna first make our figures. So I'm gonna say that, okay, I'm gonna make some figures. Let's see. We'll use this. These are really bad figures, but we'll use them anyway. So let's say that for my figures, I want to make some. Nah, I don't want to use this one. Yeah, we'll use the same as yesterday. Okay, so let's say that these are the panels that I've got that I can combine. And I want to make a figure where I show the way the cells were growing in culture. And so that's panel A and B. So I'm going to copy those, right? And I'm going to put them in my slide right here. And this is crystal viability assay showing the cells, when they're stained with it, and then it's quantifying the actual stain and looking at the growth rate. So I can make my figure, right? And maybe that's the only thing I wanted to show from that particular paper, from that particular image. And then I want to correlate it with another paper that I saw. And I have to take that data from there. So maybe I want to correlate it with the way the cells were growing. all about viability. And then I can say, okay, what do I want to show about this? Yeah, I don't want to show this. I just want to show this and this. So you are going to be choosing basically panels based on the conclusions you want to make from various papers to combine. Okay, so maybe that's what I'm going to show. Okay, and then you can do Control D to duplicate, so you can have them kind of the same size. And now I'm going to make sure they're aligned. So you select whatever you want to align. You go Arrange, Align. I want them to be aligned to the left. Same thing here. I want these two to be aligned to the left. And now they're going to be the same. I want C and D to be aligned as well. So they look nice and clean. They seem to be already there. Same thing here. So let's say this is my final figure that I want to show as figure 1. Well, then if I'm happy with it at this point as the way it shows, I will go ahead and arrange, click on arrange and say group. And now when I move it, the whole thing is going to move. So it's going to be harder for me to mess up its dimensions and the way they are organized and the way they look. I'm actually not quite happy with it, but that's okay. There, now I'm going to add a title to it so that I can have that ready to go for my final poster. So this one shows that GABA can help regenerate liver cells after injury. So that's my final conclusion from that. That's going to be my figure title. Sure. That I'm going to leave right here for now. Then you can go underneath it and it says click to add notes. And you can write whatever text you want to add to describe this figure. And you can actually see examples of these right here. So I had like the whole information about it and all that stuff. So I am going to take some of this to copy so I don't have to type all this again. And I'm going to write that in here. Actually, GABA can help regenerate aged liver cells. I guess because we want to make sure that we specify that since it's old livers. And then I had something from the other slides. So I'm going to take those up here. And it was A and B. Okay, there we go. I've got my writing ready to go that I want to add. I want to make sure everything is fixed. So this is C and this will be D. And that's it. So that's going to be my caption that I want to add. It's still wordy. I probably want to reduce it some once I get there. Just because those would be a lot of words for a poster. So that's my figure one. Great. Now figure two, maybe I don't want the way I want to show it. It is going to be these, and these frankly look a lot better this way. So I don't want to change that. I want it to be in this format. So I'm going to copy it. Actually, that's my figure three, but I want to make sure that that's going to remain in this format. So I'm going to move it here. I'm going to remove this little thing. GABA induces resetting of select genes in liver. And so this is my pathway analysis. In your case, A could be your reactome PNG, and B could be those pathways that you drew. So in my case, this is what I want to show. That looks good. And then I can go ahead and I can take my caption from underneath that describes all the different parts and or write that up to describe the information. There we go. And then I had a third figure I wanted to show. Well, I already showed some some morphology data. That's one of your requirements, that you should have some type of morphology. It doesn't have to be cell culture. It can be tissue sections if you don't have papers that show cell culture data. You want to show some type of growth, viability, survival data. Could be clinical. Some of you had a hard time finding molecular papers, so you can choose clinical study that shows survival of patients between different groups, or it could be cell culture, or it could be mice models, whatever it is that you find that would show something about cells growing and surviving or dying in response to the supplements. So I've gotten those two covered. What I don't have is DNA or protein data. So I'm going to go back to my papers and I'm going to see if I have any paper with molecular data that I can use. And I do, but what does it show? Okay, it shows my cell culture data. Okay, so maybe I can take one of those. But which one to take? And then you will look at all the ones that you have available and see which one gives the best idea about your paper, about the conclusions that you want to draw out of them. And in my case, because I'm showing the cell cycle, maybe I want to do this one. I like that. Okay, we'll do this one. Now, since I already have two other papers, two other figures with multi-panel figures, right? Where have multiple types of data combined to make a figure. I don't have to make this multi-panel. I could just show this one panel. And that could be it. So if that's all I'm showing, it's probably going to be better this way. So I will make a blank slide. I will do this one. And I'm going to make it a little bigger so it shows even better. And that's actually great. It's showing my cell cycle. Perfect. And then I can take the caption or write my caption about it, about what type of data it is and what it shows. So, see. And I can write about what it means as my final conclusion. Hmm. That was interesting too. Okay. Okay, so I've got my figures ready to go that I can put in my poster. I've made my text that goes with that, and I've written my titles. And I'm ready to make my actual poster. So once you've gotten this much done, you obviously would want to, save those so it doesn't get messed up or deletes itself. And then you are ready to make your actual poster. So do you get the idea on how you're making these figures without actual data of your own? Yes, no, maybe.
Definitely.
Okay, good. Okay, so now I'm on that big slide, the mega slide that I made, the 24 by 36. So what I'm gonna do is start making that layout that I've already kind of outlined on the side on a paper, okay? Um, and to start with, I want to usually, play with the background. I know that's sometimes the last thing you want to do, but that's usually the first thing I do. So I'm gonna go to Format Background. It just gives me something fun to play with. And I can use gradient fill. I can use one of their little options. I can go to picture or textures and do different things, although I usually don't do that. That looks ugly. But you can insert a picture. I've had students that work with grapeseed extract or mulberries that had a whole background full of them. It doesn't even show much at the end, so it's okay because everything gets hidden in the back eventually. But it's something fun to do, right? And you could do that. I am going to, what
Mushroom
is
hill?
the topic today? Same one. I don't know, maybe I'll do these. Oof, that's scary. Maybe not. Later. There, that looks better. So maybe we'll do that for today. Then I am going to go ahead and kind of lay out my sections. So I'm going to start by laying out my title area, which is going to be on the top, obviously. And I hate this blue color. That's always the default. So I'm going to change it. Shape fill, and I can change it to whatever color I want. I can change the outline to whatever color I want or tell it to have no outline. Right, and there, that looks better, actually. I am then going to make my first box regarding the introduction. So now remember, we are trying to mimic a trifold setup. So the edges are going to be a little bit narrower and the central section is going to be a little bit larger. So let's say I think about my outline and I say, introduction. Let's say, well, it's going to take about, half. I'm going to give myself about half of that first column or a little more than that if necessary. So there you go. And then I can just like before, you can change the shape, change the color, whatever you want. Okay. Then I go to my next one and I say, then I have my strategy. Actually, I'm not going to do it like this. What I will do is I will select this box that I just made and I will say Control D and it will duplicate it. And the first thing actually that I will do is I will move it to the other side so I can make sure that I have made my sections the way I would like them. And actually it looks like I made it too broad. I can make it smaller. Enough. So let's make it till the 8. Yeah, I think that's it. Now Control D, and I'm going to move it to the other side. And you can do it easy by selecting this and this top gray bar, the title bar, and then go to Arrange, Align, and I'm going to align to the right, and it's going to automatically move it right there. And then I can select these two and arrange and align to the top, and those two will be aligned on the top. They can probably be even closer to the gray. You don't want to have, you want to have minimal dead space. You don't want the poster to look too busy, but at the same time, you don't want random wasted space either. So that's there. And this can be, now that I have it, I can make this my conclusions or maybe the schematic, who knows. One or the other can go there. Now I'm going to do a Control D again, and this time I'm going to move it down. Obviously, this one is way bigger than I need. So I'm going to reduce the size of this one. And then I will select the top, and I will go align to the left and align it will. I can change. They don't all have to be the same shape or a same color, rather. I can make that a different color. I'm going to do another one. Move to the other side. Arrange, align. Right. Now, when I do that, right now we have to go back and kind of look at our images to see what we've got. So I have a figure that goes this way. I have a figure that goes that way. So maybe my first figure is going to be there. My second figure will be right here. And then I need a place for my third figure before my conclusions controls, which is the schematic anyway. These two don't look like they're aligned. Let's arrange, align, top. So I'm going to have my schematic, but then I'll also have a conclusion area. So maybe I need to reduce this and make 3 areas on this side instead of 2. And maybe I flip-flop these to make it look a little cool and different. Now I can reduce it. And this is going to be my reference section. So, a little bit of you deciding what the reference section is going to have, what font you're going to end up using in the reference section will be based on how much space you have for the reference section and how many references you have, obviously. But you want to minimize it to no more than this, about a third of the last column. And now the central area is going to be all my results. I can choose to make text boxes here, or I can keep it simple and just make the different sections for my different conclusions. Okay, so here, that's actually sure. I have 2 main figures that I want to have space for. And then I have a smaller one for the schematic. Then come back. I just did Control D to copy it. Side. And again, you can use the align function. I'm just being non-useful. And I can align all these 3 to the top. And they all line up. Perfect. Okay. So one of the things you want to do is, just because I made those figures this way as figure 1, 2, 3, doesn't mean I have to show them this way. Maybe when I think about it, I say, well, that's cool, but I don't know if I want this up front in the middle. I think the other one will be a lot cooler in the middle. This one. How can I show that as the first figure? Well, nobody's stopping you from doing that as long as you can make a good, clean storyline to do so. So I can say that I did a gene expression analysis and I did the pathway analysis first, and I noticed that these were cell cycle genes. And so I did all that other stuff. So I could make this my figure one. And I think I like that. So I will. So I'm going to copy this title and I'm going to put it where I would want it, which is front and center. You want to choose the most exciting story part, right? Something that gives some amazing results and is visually very appealing in your main front section. So I'm going to put that there. I need to make that bigger or nobody can read it. So I'll make it 40 right there. Then because I'm showing that as my first one, then actually the second one is gonna have to be the Westerns, whether or not I like that, because that proves that there is change in cell cycle. So once you make your first choice, then the rest of them will kind of fall into place. And so I may be able to put all of them in the same section. There you go. You guys have to. Okay, and then so you can kind of see the storyline appearing and say, okay, it did. And then when they looked, so yes, they found cell cycle getting affected by the supplement. Yes, they could confirm it using these Western molecular analyses. And then when they looked inside the cells and the mouse, they saw that it helped the liver regenerate. So you can make a storyline from there. Now, you could add that there, although I don't know if I want to add it there or here, but for now, I will write it here until I put that data in, and then I will decide if I like it there or not. Okay, right there. Okay, so far so good. Now, the strategy that you were going to have, you would need to make, right? And in my case, I made that slide yesterday that I was using. So I'm gonna write, uh-oh, not that. I wanna make sure it's the right size. The big areas can have different strategies. You wanna keep your font sizes consistent as much as possible. Having said that, sometimes the results conclusions, these result titles are going to be smaller, slightly smaller font, just because they're usually more wordy. Uh-oh, do the whole, there you go. And then here, bold. This is gonna be, you can write background or intro, whatever you want, you know. And then I can duplicate, move it to here, conclusions, and then section on references. Now, I know that I want, if I'm going to put that figure in here, I want it to have more space. So I may decide to shrink these sections up a little bit so that I can have more space to put that figure if I'm going to be putting it there. since it is an important figure. The data is cool. I want to show it better. Then you want to expand it. Okay, so now you have a general layout to work with that you can start putting in the things to. So in this case, I had a little schematic that I wanted to make for my, this is all done in PowerPoint, just like you did with the schematic. You're just using the shapes and the arrows to make it. Again, you don't have to show it this way. You can show it differently. So here's my schematic. That's my strategy. Now you can put that in, and then you can add a couple of sentences just, describing it underneath if needed. If it's self-explanatory and you don't need that, you can enlarge it all the way through. Then you're going to do the same thing with all your figures. Now I have this figure already grouped together. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to bring it here, and I'm going to paste it as a picture. It got pasted. I will move it. And now I need to put the caption. Now in a actual paper, your caption and title go below the figure. However, in a poster, you can put it either on the bottom or along the side, either side, not on the top. That works. So I can choose to have this like that and put my caption over here, or I can make it a little smaller and then put the caption underneath. I don't want to make it smaller because it already has a little bit less space than I want. So I would put the caption on the side. And that may mean that I'll have to make it even less wordy, and that's okay. But, I don't want to lose the figure, the actual image, which was of importance to me. I'm going to make this white, and I'm going to take the caption. Obviously, that's not going to fit there. And I would need to make it into a smaller one, but I'm just showing the example. And you can write whatever you need to write about that. And here, making sure that it is at least 20 font size. Okay. Then I'm gonna take my so-called showstopper image. I'm gonna group it, and that's the one that I want to put in the middle. Copy. And I'm gonna go ahead and paste it as a picture. So I can manipulate it and make it bigger or smaller as needed. And then I'm gonna do the same thing. I can add the caption wherever I need. Okay. So this one. Actually, I can. This one still has a lot of wasted space. Let me fix that. There you go. That looks good. And then I can add the caption. You're gonna have to make a box first, and then fill it with information. Okay. text box. I can make it all the way through. That's fine. That looks nice. And change it. Color. You don't have to show them as white. You can show them in different color. Um, and then I'm gonna put in my. Oh, where did it go? I don't know. Hiding. And it looks like I may have to make it a little bit and make the words a little bit less busy so it can fit better. Decent size bigger shot. There you go. Right there. So that's essentially how you're going to be populating each portion. And then when you're happy with it, that's what you're going to be sending to me to look at. Does that make sense, guys? Hello?
Yes, it does.
Did I make you guys go to sleep? Okay, so last thing, because I haven't talked about that yet, is your title. So you want to make sure, like I said, that your title includes the independent and the dependent variable. You're going to start off with a really large title, right? So, or really large text size. And in this case, I can say, I have black. Why are you not writing in black? So I can say that GABA rejuvenates aged hepatocytes and allows them to generate. Not the best title. However, it has my independent variable, which is the GABA application, and it has my dependent variable, which is the regeneration, right? And then it has the model system in there, or telling what the actual system was, which is the aged hepatocytes. So make sure those things are included. Then you are going to reduce the font size to significantly smaller and write your names underneath the two partners, right? And then you are going to reduce the font size even more. Go down and write your affiliations. Which will be the Mosa Laboratory, Department of Biology, University of Florida, um, Jacksonville. And then you would add the logo for the UNF on the left side, and you can make something up for the right side. Okay, it doesn't have to be um, anything particular. You can make a logo for your group. You can add the supplement. You can add an image of something else you find interesting that goes along with your storyline. That's up to you. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? So
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
that would be what you would do. You would always have to save it first as a PowerPoint, obviously, so you can edit it if needed. But once you have it the way you want and you have saved it as your final PowerPoint, what you would want to do, just come back. In this case, I can put it. So this is, I'm just trying to show you here that you don't have to just in the poster you have the flexibility. You don't have to put your caption on the right or the left. In this case, I can put it in the right, because if I put this image there, it might look too busy. It's up to you. You can put the caption on the left or the right or at the bottom. However, it looks better in the layout. However, in the paper, and that's important for your actual exam as well, the caption always goes at the bottom if it's a figure and the top if it's a table. Okay, so here we go. I'll write one here just for fun. I'm not putting anything in. So let's say this is it. This is my final image. I'm happy with it. I'm ready to post it. You're going to select all of this, everything included. You're going to arrange it and group it. And this will allow you to, again, like if you accidentally move something, the whole thing moves and it's less difficult for you to fix it back up. And then you are going to save as, um, you know, we're going to save as, but you're going to save it as a PDF. There. And that's what you're going to be uploading to the assignment folder. Okay? Any questions?
I have one question about the discussion board with the poster and the Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how like we're commenting questions on other people's? Are we answering our questions in the discussion board and the Zoom call is just in case like do we have to come to that, or is it more of a we answer discussion board questions in the Zoom call?
So originally I was only going to have a Zoom call and not the discussion board, but because there's so many issues, you know, you guys have seen the attendance in the Zoom sessions, even when I've told that they are necessary. So because of that, I decided that I'm going to still list it as, you know, obviously compulsory for everyone to attend. However, I'm going to use the discussion board primarily to grade people who don't attend the Zoom session. And the people who attend Zoom session to do the question answer session are going to end up with bonus points.
All right, thank you.
Okay. But yes, you should answer your questions. Any question that is listed on the discussion board, you should answer in the discussion.
We don't save it for the Zoom call. We
No,
just okay.
do not save it out for the Zoom call. Answer it on the discussion board. In the Zoom call, whoever is here, if anything, I will ask questions, and anyone who's here will ask questions. It's preferred that both of you are there. You don't have to be both there. Whoever is there is the one that individually will get that bonus point. So if David and Stephen were together and David was present, if you guys were going to get an 85 on your poster, Stephen will still get an 85 and David will get 90. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry to put Stephen under the bus.
I'm
Okay.
used to it.
Any other questions, dear?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay. Yes, so just a reminder again, make sure that you take the concept test. I will share my screen again quickly so I can show you the location. It is under assignments. It should have been showing up. So maybe I should make sure it's showing up since I didn't see anyone take it. Um, there.
It shows up on
Yes.
Canvas.
So it is right here. It's concept test. It should show up. And it tells you right there that it is 120-minute time limit once you begin, and it's multiple choice questions with a total value of 50 points. Okay. So that's where you would find it, is under assignments. Okay. Well, that's all I've got today.
Right.
So
Thank you
So
so much.
next week is going to be our last Zoom session, but you will have that following week through Wednesday to, or whatever date I've told you, the 27th, to respond to any discussion questions and to respond on the discussion board before I post the final grades. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.